How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Samach Gimel, Daf 63 of Masechta Yevamos. Friends, who can tell me about what Daf Samach Gimel talks about? No, quick. Friends, Samach Gimel's gewaldig. What do you want me to tell you? Let's go weiter. There's a bunch of interesting agaritas. What do you want me to tell you? Let's go weiter. So we're on Daf Samach Gimel. Third line of the page, Simen Isha V'Karka Ezer Zos Shtei Havrochos Tagbe Pachte. Let's go weiter. Amar Belazar. It says of Belazar, Kol Adam She'enu Isha. A fellow doesn't have a wife. Enu Adam, he's not a fellow. Shene'emar Zachar Nekeve B'Rayam, that the Eibishter created male and female. Vayikra Shmam Adam, and then he called them Adam. So if you don't have a wife, you're not an Adam. Alright. Amar Belazar says of Belazar, Kol Adam She'enu Karka Enu Adam. Fellow doesn't own real estate. He's not a fellow. Friends, let me tell you something. I'm really striking out over here. That the heavens are for the Eibishter, but land is for the people. It's for the Odom. If you don't have land, you're not an Odom. I was reflecting with my father. I'm 34 years old, Lamaisa. So my father was telling me when he was 34, that's when we had a flood in our house. And I was like, what? Dude, I was already like a little guy at that point. Like, I remember the flood. Like, I was already like, I don't know, I was like in school and everything. Like, I'm old enough to remember that. When my dad was 34, he had like a bunch of kids and like a house and a job and everything. I was telling my dad, I don't even have a car. Let alone a wife and real estate. I guess that's why I'm not a fellow. Let's go weiter. Who needs to be a fellow anyways? Let's go weiter. V'amar Belazar says, what does the pasuk mean? Eselo ezer kenegdo. Let's make for him an ezer kenegdo. Zocha ozarto. Well, if he's zoiche, so then ozarto, she helps him. Lo zocha kenegdo. But if he doesn't merit, or more likely he's a big nudnik, so then he's got trouble. Then she's against him. Those who say Belazar Rami. Belazar asked the kasha, Ksiv kenagdo v'korinon kenegdo. It's written kenagdo, but read kenegdo. Zocha kenagdo zocha kenegdo lo zocha menagdoso. If he merits, so then she supports him. If not, she whips him. Ashkech Rabbi Yossi Elio, Rabbi Yossi Takafan Elio Novi Omelei, he says to Elio Novi, he says, hey, you Elio Novi, let me ask you something. Ksiv es Eliezer, I will make for Adam an Ezer, a help. How does a wife help a fellow? Omelei. So Elio Novi says to Rabbi Yossi, Adam may be chitin koses. Fellow brings home from the field wheat. What, can he just eat the raw wheat just like that? Pishtan lovish. He brings back flax. Can he just wear the flax without anything else? Clearly, no. His wife makes the wheat into bread. His wife makes the flax into clothing. Clearly, she's helping him out over there. And Nim says, is she not brightening up his eyes, and making him stand on his feet? Sometimes I'm a little surprised that the certain things that some people that Al Kaponim, let's go weiter. There's a lot of things I don't know how to do. V'amar Belazar says, Belazar, my dichsiv, forget that. Let's go weiter. V'amar Belazar says, Belazar, my dichsiv zosapam etzem yatzom v'osum sorry. What does the pasuk mean when it says by Adam, it says that when he married Chava, it says this time this seems right. That apparently Adam Arishon slept with all the animals and beasts, but it was only when he slept with Chava that he says, this seems right. Belazar says, what does the pasuk mean? That they will be blessed by you, all of the families of the land. But v'nivruchu is also like mavrich, I don't know, how do you chant mavrich? I don't know. I think it's like when you take like one branch and put it in like another branch or something. What's that called? It's like a form of grafting, I guess. I have two great blessings to, I don't know, stick into you, to graft, to plant somehow. And those two blessings are Rus and Na'ama. Ha'amonis. All of the families of the land, even the people who live in the wilderness, on the land, right? The humans who live like on the land, out in the wild, in the nature, so they are blessed on account of the Yidin Kokoya Ha'aretz, all of the nations of the land. Even the ships that come from Galia to Spain. Friends, there is a member of our Babylon Talmud community who was recently in Spain, and I heard that from his travel partner that when he was in Spain, he was watching Babylon Talmud in Spain. Very nice. Where are we? So even the boats that come from Galia and Spain, Einan is Baruch Hosela B'Shvil Yisrael, they only are blessed on account of the Yidin V'Omer. Rabbi Elazar says, Rabbi Elazar, Asidim Kol Baile Umanio Sheyamdu Ala Karka. Says Rabbi Elazar, that in the future, everyone's just going to work the land. We're all going to be farmers. Friends, maybe we should all maybe we can get our farms next to each other and we can all hang out and have fun. What the heck does that mean? We'll all be farmers? That's interesting. What's that even like? What would I do? That would be interesting. Being a farmer. That would be really interesting. I wouldn't even know where to get started. That's like a very different kind of thing that I'm doing now. Alright, what do you want me to tell you? Alright, well, I guess, I don't know. Alright, well, I guess we'll see what happens. Alright, fine. So in the future, we're all going to be farmers. Alright, very nice. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, we're going to get off of our boats. I guess before we become farmers, we can have boats. Kotov say, Mashot, all the people that have like oars, Malachim, Kochov le'ayam, all the rowers, El Aretz Yamodu, they're going to be on the land. Alright, fine, very nice. Let me tell you, let's go weiter. From Rabbi Elazar, says Rabbi Elazar, Eincha umanus pchusim in a karka. Says Rabbi Elazar, there's no profession that's kind of as schwer as working the land. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, V'yardu, that they're going to go down to land. Right? What does it say? It says, V'yardu manusem, they're going to come down from their boats and they're going to work the land. So that implies that it's sort of a downgrade to work the land. Rabbi Elazar chazi lahi ara, deshadi be'kai v'lefusio. Rabbi Elazar saw a parcel of land that was filled with cabbage and it was planted its entire width with cabbage. Omar le, and he said to the land, that even if you would also be planted with cabbage your entire length as well, you'd be filled with cabbages, still taking that same investment capital and investing in a business, you would have a greater return than investing in farming. Rav all Leveni Shible, Rav was among wheat, stalks of wheat. Chazanu de karnaifon, he saw that they were blowing in the wind. Amalu, and he said to the wheat, Inaifta isnufe, blow in the wind all you want. Hafuchi biskat minoch. But the fact of the matter is that investing in business rather than in working the land will be more profitable. Amarava says, Rava me'azuze be'iska koyoma bisar v'chamer. You invest 100 zuz in some kind of a business, so then every day you could be drinking, you could be eating meat, drinking wine. Interesting. Me'azuze ba'ara milcha v'achfur. But if you take that same 100 zuz and instead of investing in business, you invest in working the land, you're going to be eating salt and things that you're digging out of the ground, below, like unripe. Below, and not only that, you're going to sleep on the ground. Umirmaya, right, you're gonna like sleep on the land in order to protect it because you don't know who's gonna come. Umirmaya le tigre, and all sorts of people are gonna be, making claims against you and your land. It's a mess. Better to just, take the money and just invest it in some kind of a business and eat meat and drink wine. Alright. Omer Papa says, Papa's Ravelo Tizbin, better to be self-sufficient, to plant your own food rather than have to buy it. And even if they're the same price, right? It might cost the same amount of money to plant your own food as it does to buy it. Nonetheless, but your own food is going to be blessed. Zvim v'lo tezel. Now, if a fellow sees that he's running out of money, so better to sell stuff and try to, as Rashi says, I think invest it in business. Try to basically, if it means you have to sell certain things in order to get capital, do that, but don't run out of money. Don't become destitute. Hani mile bestarki. Now, this is specifically selling things like rugs and things of al-klima, lo misramile. But he shouldn't sell his clothing, because if he sells his clothing, he's not going to have it when he needs it. Tom velo tashbitz, if you have a hole in your wall, plug it in, don't make it wider in order to, fix it better. Shpotz velo tivne, and if you know what you're doing, so fine, you can make the hole bigger in order to make it even better, but don't knock down the wall entirely in order to build it from scratch. Because if you are in construction, it's dangerous. Kfotz zvin ara, if you have an opportunity to purchase real estate, to purchase land, property, go for it. Masun nisiv itza, be patient in marrying a wife. Nechiz darga nisiv itza, and better to downgrade when a man marries a woman. Better he should downgrade rather than upgrade, because I don't know, I guess he'll feel more comfortable in the relationship if he doesn't feel like she's on like a higher caste than he is. But go up a level when you're looking for like a fellow to give you advice. If you're looking for an advisor, somebody to give you advice, better to look for somebody, so who you can learn from, somebody from a higher echelon. Amr Belazar says, Amr Belazar bar Avino, in Pronus Ba Olam El Bishvil Yisrael. Punishment comes to develop because of the Yidden. Shenema, as the pasuk says, Ichrati Goyim Nashamu Pinosim Ichrati Chutzosam, that I destroyed the nations and all sorts of things. And it says, Amarti Achtiri Osi Tikchi Musar, fear me, take rebuke, take Musar. So we see that there's a connection between the world having Shver Matzav and the Yidden needing to do the right thing. Rav Ab Miftar Mipater Reb Chia. Rav was once leaving Reb Chia. Amarle, Reb Chia says to Rav, who of course was his nephew, Rachmana Litzlach Mimidi Dekosh Mimosa. Reb Chia says to his nephew Rav, he says, may the Eibishter save you from that which is more difficult than death. Is there anything that's more difficult than death? Rav went out and he found that I find even more bitter than death, my wife. Rav's wife was giving him a hard time. What was the hard time? Who could tell me? How was Rav's wife giving him a hard time? It was pretty schwer. When he would say to her, make me lentils, she would instead make him chimtze. And when he would say, make me chimtze, she would make him lentils. And it was very distressing. So when Rav's son Chia got older and he could start helping out in the house, so he would just switch the order. If Rav would ask Chia, his son, to ask his mother to make him lentils, so Chia would just tell his mother, look, father wants tlufche. No, chimtze. Right? And if Rav says he wants chimtze, so he would say to his mother, look, can you make lentils? And then Shitaka would get it right, because then she would do the opposite, and the Maaseh, it was what Rav wanted. So Amalei, So Rav says to his son, look, your mother's finally learning. Omerle, to which Chia told his father the secret, no, I'm just switching around the order so that when you ask for lentils, I say chimtze, and then she makes lentils. And, it's etc. The reverse is true as well. Omerle, hainu deka amri inche, to which Rav says, this is what the people say, dinofik minoch, taima malfach, that your children will be teaching you things. There's what to learn from your children. Right. Those who come from you will be teaching you. That Rav was like, wow, that was like a novel idea. Good thinking. Just ask for the opposite thing. But nonetheless, atlu saivarachi. But don't do this anymore. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, limdu l'shonim devar sheker hayve v'goymer. No, I'm sorry. Limdu l'shonim daber sheker hayve nilu. Right, that it was giving shtickle musar and saying that they were like lying and stuff. So Rab was saying to Chia, his son, that Enochinami was very helpful that you switched around my order, but the mice are better not to lie. Chia's wife was giving him a hard time. Nonetheless, whenever he would find something special, he would put it in his cloak and he would bring it to her. He would bring it to her. Omerle, Rav, and Rav says to Reb Chia, he says, I don't understand. Isn't your wife giving you a hard time? Why are you like bringing her stuff? So Reb Chia responds, look, if only just the fact that she raises our children and saves us from the from the sin of interacting with the women we shouldn't be interacting with, and the fact that my wife can do these things, can help me out in these ways with my children, and keeping me away from sin, that's enough. That alone is enough reasons for me to be getting her stuff, and therefore Makrele Rev Yehuda le Rev Yitzchak Bey. Rev Yehuda was reading to his son Rev Yitzchak, Motzeani Marmi Moves Esoisha, and I find more bitter than death this wife. Amalek Gon Man. And Rev Yitzchak says his father of Yehuda is like, who would be an example of this wife who you find more bitter than death? Kigon Imoch. So Rev Yehuda says, your mother. Masnila Rev Yehuda le Rev Yitzchak Bey, but didn't Rev Yehuda teach his son Rev Yitzchak in Adam Motze Koras Ruach El Meishto Rishona, that a fellow only finds peace of mind only with his first wife? So that seems to be like a Gavaldiga thing, not something that's more bitter than death. Shenemar Yehi Mekorcha Baruch, that may your source be blessed. V'samach Meishes Nuraich, and be happy from the wife of your Usmach Meishes Nuraich, and be happy from the wife of your young age. And then Rav Yitzchak says to Rav Yehuda, who would be an example of this wife? Kigon Imach. And Rav Yehuda says, like your mother. So 1 second, was his mother more bitter than death, or was his mother a very gevaldig thing? It was very gevaldig for his father Rav Yehuda to have his mother. Maskiv takifa v'abure me'aba b'mila. So the answer is, she was a shtickle both. That she can get very upset to the levels that are more bitter than death, but then she kind of chills out a shtickle. Hey chidami isha ra. What's an example of a bad wife? Rabbi says, Rabbi mekashtele tako, mekashtele puma. She makes dinner for him, and then she gives him a mouthful, but not of food. Rav Omar says, Rav mekashtele tako, mahadrele gaba. She makes him dinner, and then turns the other way and doesn't even want to acknowledge him. What do you want me to tell you? When a fellow gets married to a woman, avonosav mispakikin, so his sins get plugged up. That a fellow finds a woman, he finds good, and desire comes from the Eibishter. So v'yofik is like Pokakin, like the plug up of my rava. Kinosav inish itza, in Eretz Yisrael, when a fellow would get married, Amrle, they said to him, Hochi, they would say to him the following: Motza o motzeh, Motza, dichsiv Motza isha Motza tov. They say, no, They would say, Nu matzah motzeh. Is it motzah isha motzah tov? Did you find something good? Or motzeh, dichsiv motzeh ani mar mimoves isha, that I find more bitter than death, a wife. That's a good thing to ask somebody at your wedding. So did you find somebody good, or did you find somebody more bitter than death? Well, I sure hope it's the former. Amar Rava, says Rava, Yishara mitzvah legarsha. It says Rava, if you have a bad wife, you have to divorce her. Dichsiv garesh leitz. Divorce the leitz. I don't know, nudnik. V'yetzim adon. And, oh wait, one second, no, I don't have to make these things up, I translated them. A scoffer should divorce a scoffer, and strife should go away. V'yishbos din v'kolon, and shame and judgment should go away. V'amar Rava, says Rava, Yisharoch subasim ruba. Ooh, that sounds like a bad combination. If you have a bad wife and she's got a very hefty ksuba, so it's not so partial to divorce her because you're on the line for some money. So also betzida, well, get another wife. Don't divorce her, just add them on. The people say, the best way to give musar to somebody is through a friend, not through a thorn. So rather than being a nudnik back, just get another wife. Rava says, Rava kasha isha rak yom sagre. Says Rava that an evil wife is as bad as a stormy day. Shneimar, as the pasuk says, Delef turad b'yom sagre. There's a drip, I guess, on like a windy day. Ve'eshes midyonim nishtava, and a difficult wife is equal to that wind, to that stormy day. From Rava says, Rava barei kama tova isha, tova v'chamara yishara. Says Rava, come and see how givaldig a good wife is, and how shver, how modna a bad wife is. Kama tova isha tova. How do you know how good a givaldig wife is? The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, "Matzah isha matzah tov." A fellow finds a wife, he finds good. Ibigav mishtay krav. The pasuk is talking about her. Kama tova isha tova shakosu mishamcha. A good wife must be a gevaldig azach. That the Torah, that the pasuk is praising her. Matzah isha matzah tov. Oh. Ibetarish mishtayikra. If really the metaphor, if really the verse is a metaphor for Torah, that Torah is good. Well, kamatovi shatovish Torah nimshlaba. Well, still it reflects positively on a good wife that the Torah is compared to a good wife. That must be very good. Kamara yishara, and how bad is an evil wife? The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, "Umotzeani marmi moves es isha," and I find more bitter than death a wife. If the pasuk is talking about her, if it's talking about her, well, so then that's pretty shver that the pasuk is really saying that she's worse than death. If the pasuk is talking about hell, still, it must be a modern thing to have an evil wife, to the extent that Gehenim is compared, hell is compared to an evil wife. Okay, I'm going to bring you, pasuk says, I'm going to bring you something bad that you will not be able to get out of. That's an evil wife who has a very hefty marriage contract that makes it very difficult to get divorced, because then you're on the line for a lot of money. David should put me in the hands of somebody who I cannot get up from. That is also talking about a evil wife with a hefty marriage document. But Marava Amru, in Eretz Yisrael, they said, this is a fellow whose sustenance is based on his own money, and he's not self-sufficient. Your sons and your daughters are given over to another nation. This is a reference to a stepmother. That if your children are like with a stepmother, then it's very difficult. I'll make them angry in a novel nation. Amar Rav Chanan bar Rav, Amar Rav Chanan bar Rav, Amar Rav Zo Isha Ra Uchsubas Meruba. This is a reference to an evil wife with a hefty marriage document. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Elu at Tzedukim. These are referring to the Tzedukim. V'chein Omer, it says, Amar Novel B'libo and Elo Kim V'gomer, that Novel said in his heart that there's no God. So we see that B'goy Novel Achisem is referring to the Amar Novel B'libo and Elokim Kilu Tzedukim, those who deny God. V'mas Nisatan of Stakatot and Bryce Elu Anshi Barvaria of Anshi Martarnoi. That is the people of Barvaria Martanoi Shemahalchan Arumim B'shuk, that they walk around naked in the market. Interesting. That there's nothing more lowly in the eyes of the Eibishter than a fellow who walks around naked in the market. Friends, don't do that, alright? I saw the other day, I saw a fellow walking around Shuk Machne Yehuda, no shirt, and he's borvis. Is there a Yiddish word for not wearing a shirt? There must be something funny. Alright, but borvis is funny. Alright. Rabbi Yochanan Rama says, Rabbi Yochanan Elu Chabarim. It's a reference to the Chabarim. Amrulei Rabbi Yochanan Asu Chabari Lebavel. They said says Rashi that the Chabari are these Persians who shtickle nudniks. So they said to Rabbi Yochanan, who of course lived in Eretz Yisrael, that Asu Chabari Lebavel, that these Chabarim people have arrived in Bavel. Shaga Nafal. He kneeled over and fell. Amrulei Mekabli Shorda. They said, yeah, but they are willing to accept bribes. Tritz Yosef. So then he straightened up and he sat down, because at least he figured, okay, at least you could just bribe them and they'll leave you alone. Gazu Agimul Pnei Gimel, and these Chabari made 3 gezeres, and it kind of Gazu Gimel. So they reported to Rabbi Yochanan that they made 3 negative nudniki kind of gezeres. So Rabbi Yochanan responded, well, Mipnei Gimel, it's because of 3 places where the people in Bavel were lacking. Gazu, the Yidden in Bavel were lacking. Gazu ala basar mipnei amatonis. These Chabari said that you're not allowed to slaughter meat, and that's because they weren't in Bavel. They weren't giving the matonis to the Kohanim. Right, when you slaughter an animal, so you have to give the Zoal Chayim Bekeva, the one of the legs and the jaw and the stomach to the Kohanim, and they weren't doing that in Bavel, and therefore that's why these Chabari came and said you're not allowed to slaughter meat as sort of payback for not giving the matnas kahuna. Gazu al meichatzos mipnei atvilo. So they told Rabbi Yochanan that the Chabari said that you're not allowed to go to the mikvah. So Rabbi Yochanan said mipnei atvilo, it's because they weren't taking mikvah seriously. Kamachatete shichvei. And then the Chabari said that they're also up digging up graves. It's because the Yidden in Bavel are happy on the days of Avodah Zarah, like the holidays of the Ovdei Kochavim. Shneimar, the pasuk says, "Va'osu yad Hashem bachem v'avasechem," that the hand of God is going to be in you and in your fathers. Okay, Amar Rabba bar Shmuel Zochatute Shichvei, and says Rabba bar Shmuel that this is people who dig up the dead. Damar ba'avun chayim mesim eschatin, that on account of the live people, the dead people are dug up from the ground, exhumed. Amar Rava says, Rava l'Rabba bar Mari, Ksiv, the pasuk says, Lo yosvav lo yikaveru, the domen al pnei adam ayu, that they won't even be gathered, they won't be buried, they're just going to be like fertilizer on the ground. That sounds pretty shver. And yet the pasuk says, V'nivchar mavas michayim, that death will be better than life. That's not good. If they're going to basically be fertilizer and still you prefer death, so Rabbi Bar Mari says that this is a reference to the evil people, that better that they should not live in this world, and because if they do, then they'll sin and they'll go to hell. So now says the Gemara, Kasuv b'Sefer Ben Sira, very interesting. It was written in the book of Ben Sira. Isha tova matane tova, a good wife is a good gift. Skip the next 3 words. And this good wife is given to a God-fearing fellow. Yisharot tsaras levaila. An evil wife is like tsaras, leprosy, for her husband. Maitakante igashena v'yisrap mitzaraito. So what do you do? Well, get divorced, and then you'll be healed from your leprosy. Isha yafa ashri baila. a Givaldiga wife, so fortunate is her husband. Mispar Yom of Kiflaim, the number of his days will be twice, right, doubled. Halem Einecho Me'eshes Chein, hide from a woman of charm, i.e., like an Eshes Ish. Pentilochiv Mitsudasa, lest you become encaptured by her trap. Al Tate Eitzel Baila Limsoch Imoyoin, don't be hanging out with her husband to share wine with him, right? V'sheichar, and beer. Ki Besar Isha Yafram Hushchasu, because in the form of a very beautiful woman, many people have been destroyed. V'atzumim Kol Arugea, and plentiful are those who have been killed, sort of by being in an improper relationship with a married woman. Rav Mayu Pitzei Rochel Hamagilim. I'm sorry. So there were lots of people. There were many. Rav Mayu. There were many people kind of that fell into the trap of an Eshes, or ensnared with an Eshes Ish, like the blows of a peddler. Hamagilim Dvar Erva Knitzos Mavir Gacheles, and those who often get themselves caught up in relationships that they're not allowed to have. So it's like a spark that starts a coal. Just like a coop is filled with chickens, so are their houses filled with deceit. Don't be concerned about tomorrow's difficulties, because you don't know what's going to happen today. Maybe he's not going to be alive tomorrow. So he got all worked up and concerned about something that never even came to fruition. Don't worry about, what might be in the future. Worry about what you have to take care of now. Don't have too many people over in your house. Don't bring everybody over to your house. Even if you have a lot of people who are asking, how you do it, like in Kilu, connected to you, nonetheless, only reveal your secret to 1 in 1,000. Very interesting stuff. At the end here, Sefer Ben Sira, this is a Givaldiga line about not being too overly concerned about the possibilities of what might go wrong in the future. Focus on what you know that you have to work on right now. Friends, that was Daf Samach Gimel. We had a whole bunch of droshes and psukim at the first part, and all sorts of things about a fellow's only a fellow if he's married, if he owns real estate. That's kind of an interesting thing. Then we had all sorts of interesting agaritas around wives and things like that. Friends, that was Daf Samach Gimel, Masechta Yevamos. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.